Welcome guys and gals, Copes here. This is the first in a multi-part series in which I aim to help improve healing performance in World of Warcraft Classic. At first that might sound dumb and probably redundant because of all the lists of best in slot gear and spell rank efficiency spreadsheets and videos about waste of pink parse and all the boss fight strats that are out there. There's a ton of stuff already on the old interwebs and about every format imaginable. But riddle me this. If we were indoctrinated the same way, using all the same materials, why then do we each perform so differently? That is what I'm going to shine a light on. So if you care, hang here while I share what I've gathered from my favorite healers over the last 15 years. Alright, so in this prologue I won't be very healer heavy. It's universal stuff that really helps no matter what role you play. It's mostly mental and accounts for big gaps in player output. I boiled it down the best I could to 4 points. The first of which, number 1, decision making. And the choices you make really as it relates to how you're spending time in combat. For healers now, some example choices could be like casting a heal or slash cheer or moving around or communicating or drinking or waiting. But there's really only one answer there. Well, 1.5 answers. And your decision making as a healer really should be to heal or drink. Really productive healers are just doing those two things. It's ABC, which is always be casting, and D, which is drinking, so that you can afford to ABC again. Everything else is secondary to ABCD. So the decision making, the choices, should be easy, but are often mishandled. You actually want to measure yourself for any improvements you're making. And you can do so by taking a look at the activity column, whether it's at warcraftlogs.com or whatever meter you use. And you basically want to be the busiest looking cat. I mean, you should be spending between 95 and 100% of your combat doing casting of some kind. And then, of course, the drinking will happen after you're out of combat. The second point of distinction is decisiveness, and to me, that's how quickly and consistently you make those choices. So holy priests, which I'll focus mostly on, have a bunch of spells, and therefore can easily make bad choices. To mitigate the harm caused by those bad choices, we must pick, even incorrectly, very swiftly, in the same way, time and time again. The most successful among us don't even deliberate here. They just go. For example, you've determined that the right spell, based on the need, is a rank 7 flash heal, since that'll cover the damage already dealt, as well as the expected incoming damage, which I'll talk about in another video. If you spend half a second making that choice, and you're wrong about the incoming damage, both of which are commonplace, you'd have been better off just casting a bigger, slower heal without wasting the brain power. In other words, thinking about which fast heal to cast is actually going to be slower than mindlessly casting a bigger, slower heal. A tip if you're still developing that kind of muscle memory is to have a panic spell. One that's better to cast than staying paralyzed thinking about the slightly better choice. My panic spell is max rank renew for predictable situations and maxed rank greater for chaotic situations. The third point of distinction is reaction time, and that's simple. I think that's how quickly you execute the decision you made. Okay, so it took you a half second to decide on rank 7 flash. That's fine. But how long is it going to take you to press the button? Another couple hundred milliseconds? Maybe. Generally speaking, the more athletic you are, the less of a problem this is. But try exercising this out of game with something that's not too thought-provoking, yet still rewards you for speed. I mess around with whack-a-mole games all the time. In-game ways to get lower reaction time, if anywhere, seems to come from solo healing, something demanding. But truth be told, you're the speed you are, so don't hyper-focus on this. Now, there are ways to decipher graphs which will tell you the healer who responded most quickly to the recent health loss, but there isn't a lot you can do to be faster. Just know that if you are a relatively fast human, use slower spells. Doing so converts that natural gift of yours into a huge HPS or MP5 boost, the specifics of which I can discuss in another video if there's enough interest. Conversely, if you're a relatively slow player, use fast spells or precast big ones like crazy in order to contribute in a meaningful way. The fourth and last point I wanted to make is really about reflection, and that's the open-mindedness to review and potentially change how you play the next time. Should you have potted earlier or saved a cooldown? Maybe just survived? Logs are good, but watching recorded footage is even better. That's used in professional sports too. There you can be critical of yourself, watching in slow-mo or sped up. Maybe even see an element of your UI that needs to be changed or moved or enlarged. Maybe you'll spot some shoddy footwork, or that you weren't hiding well so you got silenced. Whatever you find, attempt a low-cost, low-risk way to experiment, like a dungeon run or old raid content, just not progression night. That'll flesh out any flaws with your new idea and start committing it, the good parts of it anyway, to memory. So in summary, always be casting something, make quick and consistent choices, even if they are imperfect. Turn that into swift action and reflect on what you can do differently. Until next time.